Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker and your resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing well. All right, so this is the last video for today. It should be the fourth one. If you've been following along in the different videos I've been posting today, you notice that we covered a couple of different of articles that came across my desk almost simultaneously, right? So let's just go recap, right? So we had this one, okay, the genius meme that perfectly nails Lord of the Rings' biggest problem in a nutshell, right? And this one was posted by Lois Everett on January 14th, okay? We also had this doozy, fan theory spins Lord of the Rings Eagles plot hole in a way that will make you rethink everything. Okay. This was also by Lois Everett, and this was from the 12th. Okay. So this is 2 days difference between the two articles. Then at the same time, we also had this one coming out. Okay. And this one was also from the 14th. And this is why Tolkien canon is so easy to break in the Rings of Power and in general. Okay. And this one was from the good folks over at Screen Rant. Okay. And the reason why I sort of wanted to do a video on all these different articles, well, one, not only because of the sheer stupidity of some of them, right? And some of them are just stupid, right? We were all in agreement on that one. But I know sometimes you guys have heard me say that, like, when it comes to, like, Tolkien's fandom and Tolkien's work, we have to be vigilant, right? We can't let our guard down, because the minute we start letting things slide, that's how they will get in, right? That's leaving the door unlocked, and that's how they will get in and cause all sorts of irreparable damage to both Tolkien, his reputation, his work, and the fandom. And we've seen this pattern play out before with, like, Doctor Who and Star Wars and Star Trek and MCU and all sorts of stuff, right? And so I've always constantly said that we as Tolkien fans need to be vigilant and need to call this nonsense out when we see it, right? Because the minute you start letting it slide, it starts to take hold, right? And so I've sort of been on my, well, I was going to say one-man crusade, but there's like over 650 of you who have subscribed. So it's not a one man or just a man. It is a group of us, right? Men, women of all different backgrounds and ethnicities and thoughts and ideas and beliefs and the whole spectrum of everything, right? Because the one thing that we have in common is we are fans of Tolkien and his work, okay? And the escape that it provides to millions of people, regardless of their background or worldview. It provides a place where we can all go to when we need a break from the realities of life, right? And so the reality is, not to sound like some wacko conspiracy nut job, right? But the reality is there are forces out there that are looking to co-opt that. Okay, that is a given. And you know, it's not like it's like some nefarious, you know, hooded figure sitting in a dark room. No, it's $1 billion corporation because they want to be able to turn it into a money-making machine, right? Into a cash cow, right? That's really what it comes down to, right? But nonetheless, they have a vested interest in taking this thing that we have all agreed is fine as is, and trying to sell us on the idea, or sell the public on the idea, that they're going to take it and bring it into a new medium, i.e. by adapting it into a series or a movie and so on and so forth. And we're going to just get the same thing that we love, but in a new form, i.e. a new form of media. Um, and the part that they don't say out loud is, well, we're going to change it. We're going to make it more reflective of the modern world. We're going to, quote unquote, update it for a modern audience. We're going to have, you know, elements of the lore and things that are central and sacred to the work, and we're going to change them to comport with a 2022 or 2023 worldview, world paradigm, and the original status of it be damned. And that's their view, and ultimately their motivation for doing that all comes down to money. They think there's money in it, right? So we as fans have to constantly be vigilant that, you know, one, that we're not being overly restrictive in gatekeeping, right? Because you know, you don't want to ever have somebody tell you that, well, I tried getting into Tolkien and I tried joining all these groups, but they made me feel stupid, or they made me feel like an outsider because I wasn't blonde haired or blue eyed, or because I'm black, or because I identify differently, that somehow I was made to feel not part of this community. You don't want to be that person, right? Because that's just an asshole way to be. So you want everybody to enjoy Tolkien. As a Tolkien fan, I want as many people as possible to enjoy Tolkien's work, not Amazon's. There's a difference. Okay. But so we have to be, you know, aware of gatekeeping in such a way that the door is constantly open for new people that want to enter this community and this fandom and be part of it and enjoy it for what it is. But at the same time, you know, that also means that when we see people that clearly have motives that are all about changing it and distorting it and rewriting it to some degree, that we need to call that shit out whenever we see it, right? Um, and so that's what I've sort of the mantle I've sort of picked up to and chose to do. And like I said, I've mentioned this before. You know, there are some channels that were talking about how, you know, Rings of Power was sort of taking a crap on Tolkien and his work. And they were sort of doing it because it was a trending thing, and it was generates a lot of clicks and stuff like that. And as time's gone on, they've moved on to other things, which to me is kind of sad, because it's like, yeah, I'm not saying you can't be a fan, but how much of a fan are you if, you know, you're not defending the fandom that you claim to be a part of, right? And make no mistake, the fandom is continuously under attack. And I don't mean that like every day they're like, oh, you're a racist, oh, you're a misogynist, because they will do that. That'll ramp up again as we get closer to season 2. But what you will see is, like I was pointing out, these 3 articles, 3 seemingly random, different articles from different authors, different online publications, seemingly not connected, right? But they are, on the face of it, because the recurring theme for all 3 of these articles, right? The recurring theme for here and here and here, okay, is to get you to rethink everything you know about Tolkien and to see it in a light which is more favorable to Rings of Power. Okay. And like I said, these articles all came out within 48 hours of each other. I'm sure there's more. These are just the 3 that came across my news feed. Okay. Were just these 3, but I guarantee you there's more. Okay. And the recurring theme of all of this, whether it's talking about the why didn't they just use the eagles because that solves problems and inconsistencies in Tolkien's work, or this strap the ring to a chicken theory solves problems and inconsistencies in Tolkien's work, or why it's okay for Rings of Power to play fast and loose and rewrite elements of Tolkien's lore when Tolkien himself was doing the same thing up until his death, you know, to try to correct, you know, problems and inconsistencies. right? And all of this is designed, as I've said before, to take it down a notch. Start punching holes. Think of it like death by 1,000 cuts, right? If they can start tarnishing Tolkien's image in the fans' eyes, if they can get the fans to start accepting the idea that Tolkien's stuff was malleable and was in a constant state of flux, and he was constantly changing things, and therefore the Rings of Power coming in and changing things is just, another version of some changes, right? That's what they're trying to do. That is the ultimate goal. And I, like I said, I know it sounds almost like some conspiracy theory shit, but it's really not. Like I said, these big corporations, they plan this stuff out. They have marketing campaigns. Okay, a marketing campaign by its very nature is for the long haul. Their marketing campaign is based on a 5-year program because they're planning on having 5 seasons of this stuff, right? So it's not like it's one and done. They just pop out a couple of commercials during the Super Bowl in the lead up to, the season 2 premiere and stuff like that. They've got a long-term game planned out. And it's these articles, it's interesting how they would all come out within 48 hours of each other, right? Seemingly, and they all have that fundamental underlying core is like, you can't hold to what Tolkien wrote so steadfastly. You have to be flexible in your Tolkien interpretations, right? And why would you have to do that? To make room for Rings of Power. Okay? It's the only way Rings of Power can be viewed as part of the legendarium without being viewed as just some half-assed bullshit fan fiction. Okay? The only way they can do that is if they get you to loosen your grip on Tolkien and his actual writings, okay? And the same thing with the Peter Jackson films. That's why we've also seen articles sort of taking pot shots at his films. Oh, Rings of Power is going to bring Tom Bombadil into the mix and stuff. Peter Jackson never brought Tom Bombadil into the mix. Yes, and for good reason, right? But again, it's just sort of taking the death by 1,000 cuts approach to the Peter Jackson adaptation and to Tolkien's work itself, right? And I've been saying this from the beginning, right? Over 100 videos I've done now, and the one thing I've constantly said in regards to this is that that's what they need to do. That they have to do that. They have to bring Peter Jackson's films down a notch. Why do they have to do that? Because they are the point of comparison for a visual adaptation of Tolkien's work. And as long as Peter Jackson's films are up here and the Rings of Power is viewed down here, they need to take that and move it down. Okay? They need to lessen the positive view of Peter Jackson's films in order to make more space for positive views of Rings of Power. Same thing goes for Tolkien and his work. And that is why all day today, every video that I've done has been essentially about the same thing. Now, they could be talking about different, like the chicken theory or the eagle theory or Tolkien constantly tweaking his stuff till his death and stuff. But the underlying thing has been the same. The underlying core of every one of those articles is Tolkien's work was problematic, had plot holes, and inconsistencies. That is the recurring theme for every video that I've done today. Or I should say, every article that I've spoken about today has the underlying undertone subtext of all of them is Tolkien's stuff was inconsistent and had plot holes. Okay? And therefore, it's totally okay for Rings of Power to do their version because Tolkien was inconsistent and had plot holes. That has been what this is all about. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because it sort of illustrates the big picture game that I've been talking about, like the long-term game. This isn't something that's just a month or two thing. Their marketing campaign is planned out for however many seasons they're going to do. According to them, at least 5, right? So that means that their marketing campaign is set up to continue for at least the foreseeable future, right? If they take 2 years in between each season, like it looks like they're doing between season 1 and 2, well, then we're looking at 10 years. You're looking at a marketing campaign that is going to be consistent for the next 10 years, right? That is a lot of time to sort of bring Tolkien and Peter Jackson down a notch. Okay. Um, it's also a lot of time for me to keep making fucking videos calling them out on it, which is what I intend to do. But that's neither here nor there. My point being, I just wanted to illustrate it because I thought this illustrates the big game, right? So I've sort of condensed it down into one day, right? This is the fourth video. Now I'm actually explaining to you what's been going on with the three previous videos, right, and the articles in them. And I just want you guys to understand that that's where I come from when I say that we constantly have to be vigilant as fans, because the minute we let our guard down, they will pounce. They will pounce with their articles, getting you to question, is Tolkien's work really that good? He was inconsistent and he kept changing things. Therefore, Rings of Power, should I really be that upset that they're changing things? That's their long-term goal, right? To wear you down. Death by 1,000 cuts. Anyway, I just thought I'd highlight that. I thought this final video of the day would be the one where I sort of tie it all together, all the videos for the day. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. I know we're talking very subtle stuff here. Right? This isn't over the top, in your face sort of stuff. This is very subtle, very low key, incrementally making the change. Okay. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to pick up on, and that's precisely why they do it. Okay. But let me know what you think. Like I said, this is why I will keep doing what I'm doing, is because every now and then they get a little bit too eager with their work, per se, and you'll see a sort of cluster of these things come together, which, if you're paying attention, will illustrate what's actually going on here. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Remember, if you like the video. If you feel like sharing it, by all means do so. It gets it seen by a lot more people. If you are considering subscribing, I would hope that you would, because it helps us expand this cadre of warriors that we have become in defending Tolkien and his works, and preventing them from being bastardized by a billion-dollar corporation. So I would hope that you would join the fight. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you, my fellow warrior. I will see you guys on the next one. Remember to be good, be safe, be awesome. Until then, peace.